Hello and welcome back to Pause Café. I'm Sophie.
And I'm David. Lovely to have you with us today, as always.
Now, before we get into today's episode, we'd love to ask you a small favour. If you're watching on YouTube, please do hit the like button. It genuinely makes a huge difference to how many people discover this podcast. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It's completely free, and it means we can keep making episodes like this one.
We'd also love to hear your thoughts in the comments. After today's episode, tell us, are you good at doing nothing? Or does sitting still make you feel guilty? We want to know. And if you know anyone who's learning English and could do with a good podcast to practice with, please share Pause Café with them. You'd be doing them a real kindness.
Right, today's topic. David, how are you feeling right now, honestly?
Honestly? A bit tired. I had one of those weekends where I felt like I should be doing something productive the entire time. I had a list of chores, a book I told myself I'd read, a friend I kept meaning to ring, and somehow by Sunday evening, I'd done about half of it and felt guilty about the other half.
Right, and did you actually rest at all?
That's the thing. I don't think I did. Not properly. I was either doing something or feeling bad about not doing something.
Which is exhausting in itself, isn't it?
Completely. And that's exactly why today's topic feels so timely for me personally.
So today we're talking about the art of doing nothing. Rest, idleness, switching off. And why, in a culture that glorifies being busy, learning to stop might actually be one of the most important skills we can develop.
And this is very much a British conversation as well. Because I think we have a very complicated relationship with the rest of this country.
Oh, absolutely. There's this very British thing where if someone asks how you are, you say, "Oh, busy, really busy." And there's almost a pride in it, like busyness is a virtue.
As if the busier you are, the more important and worthy you must be.
Whereas in other cultures, such as many Mediterranean countries and parts of Asia, the rest is built into the day. It's not considered laziness, it's considered essential.
The Spanish siesta, the Italian passeggiata, that tradition of an evening stroll with no particular purpose.
Exactly, just being, not achieving, not optimizing, just existing pleasantly for a while.
Which sounds lovely when you say it like that, but I genuinely struggle to do it.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's partly cultural conditioning, as we've touched on. But I also think there's something about modern technology that has completely blurred the line between rest and work. Because even when I'm technically not working, I'm checking emails on my phone, or scrolling through news, or doing something that feels passive but is actually quite stimulating for the brain.
That's such an important point. We've replaced genuine rest with what I'd call low-effort stimulation. Scrolling, streaming, browsing. It feels like switching off, but the brain is still processing constantly. It never actually gets a proper break.
And I think that's why a lot of people feel perpetually tired, even when they feel like they've been relaxing.
Exactly. There's a term for this: cognitive load. It refers to the mental effort required to process information. And even passive consumption, watching telly, scrolling social media, carries a cognitive load. The brain is still working. Real rest means reducing that load significantly.
So what does genuine rest actually look like then?
Well, neuroscientists, scientists who study the brain, talk about something called the default mode network. It's a system in the brain that becomes active when we're not focused on a specific task. When we daydream, let our minds wander, stare out of a window.
Which is something we're actively discouraged from doing from a very young age, isn't it? Stop daydreaming. Pay attention.
Precisely. And yet research suggests that this default mode network is actually doing incredibly important work. It's involved in creativity, in making sense of our experiences, in consolidating memories, and in developing empathy.
So when we stare out of a train window thinking about nothing in particular, we're actually doing something rather valuable.
It seems so, yes. The brain uses that seemingly idle time to sort through information, make unexpected connections, and process emotions.
That would explain why so many good ideas seem to arrive in the shower, or just before you fall asleep, or on a long walk. Those are all moments when you're not actively trying to think of anything.
Absolutely. There's a wonderful German word, and I know we're a British English podcast, but this word is too good to ignore. Muse. It means a kind of leisurely, purposeless time that has no goal. And philosophers have written about it for centuries as being essential to human flourishing.
Musa. I love that. We don't really have an equivalent in English, do we?
Not a single word, no. We have leisure, but that implies activity, leisure activities. We have free time, but that implies time that should be filled. Muse is more radical than either. It's time that is genuinely purposeless and unashamed about it.
Which may tell us something about our cultural attitude right there. The fact that we don't have a word for it.
Exactly. Language shapes thought. If there's no word for something, it's harder to value it.
Right. So how do we actually get better at resting? Because I don't think it's as simple as just sitting down and telling yourself to relax.
No, it really isn't. And I think that's something people don't appreciate. Rest is actually a skill. It requires practice.
That's a slightly alarming thought, honestly. Even rest requires effort to learn.
I know, it sounds paradoxical, but I think it's true. Most of us have spent so long associating rest with guilt that the moment we stop, the to-do list floods in. The mind starts churning.
So what do you actually do?
A few things have genuinely helped me. The first is what I'd call intentional idleness. Deliberately scheduling time that has no purpose. Not yoga, not reading, not a productive hobby. Just sitting, maybe with a cup of tea, and making peace with the fact that nothing is going to be achieved in that time.
Which sounds easy, but is genuinely difficult.
Very, especially in the first few minutes. But if you sit with the discomfort rather than reaching for your phone, something usually shifts after about 5 or 10 minutes. The mind starts to settle.
Like waiting for muddy water to clear.
That's a lovely way of putting it. Exactly like that. The second thing that helps me is spending time in nature, but without a purpose. Not a training run, not a walk with a podcast in my ears. Just being outside, moving slowly, noticing things.
The Japanese have a practice for this, don't they? Shinrin-yoku, forest bathing.
Yes, simply being in the presence of trees, at a gentle pace, with no agenda. And there's actually solid scientific research showing that spending time in natural environments reduces cortisol, the stress hormone, lowers blood pressure, and improves mood quite significantly.
Which is remarkable when you think that all it requires is a park and a willingness to slow down.
Completely free, available to almost everyone. And yet how rarely we actually do it without making it into a fitness activity.
Right. Okay, let's have a quick debate, because I think there's a counter-argument worth exploring.
Go on then.
Is there a risk that this whole slow down, do nothing philosophy is a bit of a luxury? Because a lot of people working 2 jobs, raising children on their own, dealing with financial stress, don't actually have the option to sit quietly with a cup of tea and contemplate the nature of rest.
That is a genuinely important point, and I don't want to gloss over it. The wellness industry has done a remarkable job of turning rest into something you can sell. Spa days, mindfulness retreats, expensive apps. And that does risk making it feel like something only available to people with disposable income and time.
Exactly. Self-care has become a product rather than a right.
However, and this is where I'd push back slightly, I think the most meaningful forms of rest don't require anything at all. Sitting in a park is free. Staring out of a window is free. Having a conversation with someone you love is free. The problem isn't access, exactly. It's permission. Many people feel they don't have permission to stop.
Because the culture doesn't give it to them.
Right. Whether you're a high-powered executive or someone working on a checkout, the message is the same. Productivity equals worth. And until we challenge that at a cultural level, the pressure won't ease, regardless of how much people earn.
Which is a systemic issue, not just a personal one.
Exactly, and I think that's an important distinction. We shouldn't only be telling individuals to rest more. We should be asking why our systems make rest feel impossible.
Well said. Okay, before we wrap up today's expression, every episode we leave you with a useful phrase.
Today's phrase is, to recharge your batteries. To recharge your batteries. It means to rest and recover your energy so that you feel refreshed and ready to go again. You could say, I really need this weekend to recharge my batteries. Or, after a hectic week, a quiet Sunday is the perfect way to recharge your batteries.
Recharge your batteries. Very fitting for today's topic. Right, to wrap up. The key thought from today's episode is this: rest isn't the absence of productivity. It's a different kind of productivity, one that the brain genuinely needs in order to function well, think creatively, and feel human.
And if you leave today's episode with one small intention, let it be this. At some point this week, give yourself 10 minutes of purposeless time. No phone, no podcast, not even this one. Just you, a window, a cup of something warm, and absolutely nothing to do.
I'm going to try that myself. I genuinely am.
Me too. Right, before we go, a quick reminder. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do like the video. It costs you nothing and it genuinely helps us find new listeners.
Subscribe if you haven't already and leave us a comment. We'd really love to know whether you're good at resting or whether you find it as tricky as we do.
And do share this episode with a friend who's learning English. Or honestly, share it with anyone who looks like they could do with a reminder to slow down.
That might be most people we know.
It really might. Thank you so much for listening. Take care of yourselves.
See you in the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye.